Wait, guys, you know tomorrow's our 1 year.
No way.
Oh, wait, are you doing like a day in my life 365?
I could.
You should.
Oh my god, 1 year. That's big.
Yeah.
Who thought we'd make it this far?
Not Maya, that's for sure.
Oh my god, I remember back in the day I told Trey like, yeah, if we make it to 1 year, we would be famous. And he was like, you're wrong. And I was like, no, like that's what I need to tell myself for me to make it to 1 year.
Do you feel famous?
No.
Okay,
No.
but it's been successful.
It's definitely been successful. Yeah.
But the goal isn't even to be famous.
No. The goal was never to be famous.
Yeah,
I was
that
just like
sounds
making
horrible.
a joke out
Well,
of
she
it.
was just like, I need people to be listening to it, otherwise it's not worth my time.
Okay, people listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's what that actually is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, happy Tech Week. Last year we had our launch party for Tech Week. And that's just, people were like asking me about Tech Week and they were like, oh, like, can anyone go? Is it like a conference? And so it's not like a conference. Like A16Z just co-hosts a bunch of events with people.
Yeah, there's like 300 events you can go to.
It's mainly just like their branding and then people host their own events. Yeah. And so last year we had like a happy hour on our rooftop and actually a lot of people came that were like total strangers.
Yeah.
This year we're hosting a DJ Matcha happy hour at the Composio office.
Yeah. I'm excited.
I know. That'll be fun.
The link is in our bio if you'd like to come.
Our call sheet link is also there in case you want to sign up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, welcome back to Get the Check. I'm Maya.
I'm Anika.
I'm Priya.
So today we have a fun lineup. First, we're talking about Dot, which is DoorDash's new autonomous delivery robot. It can go both on the sidewalks and the roads, and it was developed in-house by DoorDash Labs, which is really impressive. Next, we're going into the government shutdown that started on October 1st. And finally, we'll be talking about the Tinker release. So Thinking Machine Labs released their first product. They were valued at $12 billion when Mira Murati first started the company with no product. So everyone's been waiting for this. It's a little API that helps you fine-tune your models. So we'll be going into what exactly it is, how you use it, and why it's different than the others.
Yeah, so starting with DoorDash's launch of Dot, it's basically a commercial autonomous delivery robot developed by DoorDash Labs. And DoorDash Labs was started back in like 2021 as their robotics and automation arm. And the entire thing that they were trying to solve for is basically advancing last mile logistics, which is this concept that they talk about over and over again. And it's the idea that the last mile of delivery poses like the most challenges, both from like an operational standpoint, but also just like monetarily. Because if you think about it, when you get food delivery, that is the most annoying part of figuring out where the driver is, like making sure it's dropped off in the right spot. And then from their perspective, they have to also find you. And so there's like a lot of challenges there.
Yeah, and I was doing some of the math on like how much of the delivery cost you pay in the $25 meal, because obviously like delivery cost is like very variable when you're like checking out, depending on if you have like, what is it, Dash Pass or something. Yeah. And there's estimates that they make anywhere between 12 and 25% on the base salary, and then there's like a tip on top of that. That's the amount that they're thinking about basically automating away.
You're saying that out of what we pay DoorDash, if we pay DoorDash $10, 25% of that goes to the Dasher's salary.
12 to 25%.
12 to 25%.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That makes sense.
So it's like it helps their margins 12 to 25%.
Which is like on a food delivery platform is like a huge gain.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, on anything, that's a huge gain.
Yeah.
But then wouldn't it be like you also have to think about the cost of maintaining these?
For sure. Yeah. I'm just saying like 12 to 25% is like the margin of like opportunity.
The ceiling. Yeah. That makes sense.
I don't know if you guys have seen it. We can like insert a picture of it, but it's like really funny looking. Like, I don't know, like, you know those things at the grocery store when you're a kid that you like get in and like ride around in?
Yeah.
That's literally what it reminds me of.
Yeah, and they're big. Like they're 5 feet tall and 3 feet wide.
They can carry up to 30 pounds and go 20 miles per hour.
I know, they're speedy.
Yeah, they are speedy. One of the goals when they were building it was so that it could drive on the road. Then basically, because like there's a lot of places where sidewalks are really hard to navigate just in general. And so that was one of the reasons why they needed to make sure they wouldn't like disrupt traffic while going on the road, which I don't know, 20 miles per hour doesn't seem fast enough to not disrupt traffic in my opinion.
But I guess it could be in the bike lane.
I'm sure they're only going in the suburbs. Like,
yeah, also that.
Yeah.
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 I don't know.
Yeah, and they are testing it in Phoenix right now, which makes sense. I feel like that's where all the AVs tested first too, because it's just like flat and good weather. And isn't
it also that they have the easiest regulation to test these things?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of factors, but everyone just always tests in Phoenix. And they have already like created the infrastructure there. So like the warehouses to fill up their batteries, the field operators to rescue them, it says, if needed, and like the storage and stuff. And I think by the end of the year, they want to be like pretty much fully launched in Phoenix. But yeah, and then I think this is part of a bigger DoorDash push to have multimodal delivery. So they're looking at other ways of delivering as well. So like Dot is one of them, drones is one of them. In certain cases, they'll still use dashers. And it is interesting what pushes away from human labor get bad press. Like I would say this didn't really get any bad press, but like Duolingo saying they're gonna use AI. like don't you sometimes think it's interesting? Like I would think something like this would get way more bad press because I feel like being a Uber Eats or DoorDash driver or like Uber driver or Lyft driver,
it's always been like so protected, kind of.
I agree, but then I also think that because Waymo has been doing really well and the robotaxi launch has happened recently, like people are just getting used to the idea of like AV in general. And then now that a food delivery company is launched their version of AV for their food deliveries, like I don't think it's like that out of the norm anymore.
Yeah, and they've like said they're working on this platform. It's basically called DoorDash's autonomous delivery platform, and the idea is to just orchestrate like the type of food delivery happening with like the best mode of transportation. Because if you think about something like delivering a coffee versus delivering like 30 pizzas to a company that's like ordering it off of DoorDash, or like for my birthday I ordered a bunch of pizzas and a bunch of food, like you probably need an actual dasher to do that. And so they want to like route the complexity of the order to the 4 different types that they have, which are basically dashers, the Dot, which we just talked about, the Wings drones, which is owned by Alphabet, and they started a partnership with them, I think it was like 4 years ago or something like that, in Australia, and then they expanded it recently. And then the Coco Robotics sidewalk robots. So those are like the ones that are specifically built for sidewalks.
Yeah, and they said like Dots should be able to do up to 50% of their current deliveries, just like that one mode. So that makes me think like a very few percentage eventually needs to be an actual dasher.
Yeah. Also like drones is a logistical nightmare. Like I feel like that was the first thing that all these companies went after, but it's honestly just really tough.
There's also, I think there's a lot of flying regulation.
Yeah, like airspace is like really difficult.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah.
Because like my one friend that has a drone is always flying it in no-fly zones.
Yeah.
And then people always ask me like, oh, how do you get like drone footage of that? And I'm like, oh, he just like ignored the rules.
Yeah. But then if you have like a whole company doing it,
you can't do it if you're like DoorDash.
Something that I thought was pretty cool was that they're designed to have like swappable modules, so like you can swap out, I guess, like any sort of part of the system very easily. I think they built this with the mindset that they wanted to like obviously launch a full fleet and manage the full fleet very easily. So my guess is like they don't want high skilled workers having to manage it. Like if something breaks, you can just like swap and replace very easily. And like the downtime of a robot is not very high. And I was looking into like how much it would cost to like get back the money that you want. And some sidewalk robots seem to cost $2,000 to $5,000. And then GPT estimated that specifically Dot cost $50,000. And my guess is it lands somewhere like in the middle, maybe like around $20,000. And if you divide that by like $25 meals and you think, okay, I'm going to make like $3 per $25 meal, you end up at around like 5,000 meals that you have to account for. And so if you think you can now deliver 20 meals a day, that roughly ends up around like 200 to 250 days that the robot needs to operate. So you're about at, like you're almost at a year. Yeah, which is pretty easy. Like when we did this math for like Waymo, for example, it was something like 10 years for them to break even. I think on the monetary side, I don't think there's any issues in terms of scaling this out.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, it is pretty cool. Yeah, and then for like the autonomous side of it, they are taking basically the same approach as like Waymo is taking, a combination of using like LiDAR cameras and sensors, but like at a much smaller scale, obviously. But they're not taking the Elon approach, which no one is.
Yeah. And it basically comes from the fact that they acquired an AV company in 2019 called Scotty Labs. So that was like 6 years ago now. And then they've also hired people over from like Zoox. And so they are just using people from the actual autonomous vehicle space to build DOT.
Wait, did Scotty Labs come from CMU? Or is that just like a coincidence?
Flex for Maya.
Is that like just a coincidence?
What do you mean it's a coincidence?
Is Scotty Labs like a CMU term?
It's like CMU's robotic labs.
Oh.
That was a key.
What?
Like, we didn't know that.
Yeah.
How would we know that?
No, you wouldn't know that. That's why when you said that, I was like, wait a second.
I don't know. It totally, I mean.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Wait, now I kind of want
But then you couldn't have like acquired if it's like a college club.
A college club?
No, it's
okay,
it's just like a coincidence because it's just a startup.
Okay. Anyways,
it's not worth looking into.
Anyway, in college, we had our own little sidewalk robots.
I know. I heard a lot about this.
Speaking of college, we had our little Kiwi bots that were always being harassed by all the college students at Berkeley.
But they were being drived around by like someone in like some random country.
Yeah.
Not random, sorry.
Yeah, that was the scandal of the century.
Yeah, like eventually they stopped operating. And they actually never used it.
I never used it either.
Yeah, so basically the difference between DOT and the Kiwi bots that they like the dots actually cannot be remotely operated by a human even in like unique emergency.
Wait, that seems bad.
Yeah, they said they're not taking a teleoperation approach.
I've had to call Waymo so many times.
Yeah, I was gonna say I need that teleoperation approach.
Like you're not gonna have you leave like your phone in it or like it's not the end of the world.
No, it's not the end of the world, but I feel like it could totally get stuck. Like one time I had to call Waymo support because it couldn't figure out that it was stuck behind this car because it had its like hazards on or something. So I thought it was gonna move, and I was like, it's not gonna move.
Yeah.
And so I had to call support to like maneuver it around.
Well, so basically they are trained to pull over, and then in a serious situation, they just have a person actually go locate the robot. But the Kiwi bots in Berkeley had people actually behind them that lived in South America, which is where the founders are from. Yeah. And it was a huge scandal when it dropped. But I will say, like, at the time, I was like, oh, that's crazy. Like, it was all scam. But then after learning about Waymo's technology, like, that's also how Waymo worked for a long time is there was, like, individual people behind the screen. And then eventually you're like, okay, I can have one person for, like, 100 Waymos. I don't need it to be, like, one-to-one or whatever. But I'm sure at some point it was one-to-one or basically one-to-one. But it's interesting. Like, I don't think KiwiBot ever got, like, acquired or anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think they just shut down.
Yeah.
My biggest thought was like, why is Amazon so slow to this problem? Like, I would assume that they would have figured it out faster than DoorDash. And I was looking into it, and they have this thing called Amazon Scout, which is their sidewalk delivery program. It ended back in 2023, and they wound down the program and basically shut it down. So it's not clear if they're still going after it. And also their drone business is always confusing. Like right now they're saying that they have a new drone that's quieter, so they should be able to like travel farther and in more airspaces. But they clearly don't have like many autonomous like modes of delivery. And I think the way they solved their last mile delivery problem was actually just focusing on placing more warehouses closer to the customer so that they could bring inventory close to the customer. And then also, creating their entire delivery service. So they used to use like UPS and FedEx a lot more often back in the day. And now most of their deliveries are done through their own delivery drivers and their own trucks. And so it's just a different business because it's not food, it's things. And so that you can like batch deliver way more often. And that's kind of how they solve. I guess that's their approach to their problem and why they never went after it. But
yeah, apparently in 2013 there was this like Christmas crisis where like nothing got delivered on time because they were partnering with UPS, and it was like millions of gifts that didn't get delivered by Christmas that were supposed to get delivered by Christmas. And so after that they were like, we like really need to figure this out. And after that was when they came out with like 1-day shipping, 2-day shipping, all of those things in addition to like the delivery service providers.
I remember that Christmas.
Do you actually?
Yeah,
because you didn't get your gifts.
Yeah.
Wait,
Really?
that's so sad.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like, I would say it was probably like 20% of the gifts, like across
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah. That's
But
still a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was like, I don't know, it was like still when like Amazon was like a little bit more novel. So the reason why it was only 20% was because like you're still going to Costco and like Black Friday sales and getting things in person. But now everything that we order on Christmas is from Amazon.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Apparently, like, they surpass, like, UPS, FedEx, like, any other provider in, like, parcel volume. And they deliver 72% of packages themselves without, like, any external help.
Yeah.
Which is really crazy.
That
They're
is
basically
really
just, like, a
crazy.
logistics company.
Yeah. They're really good at it, too. Like, they reach very remote areas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, didn't we Amazon something to somewhere random we went once?
I think Bali.
I think it was Bali.
Yeah, but that's like not even that random. Like, we're in a city. Like, there's an article a while ago about how they get packages into like the Himalayas. Like, they get them onto islands.
Wow.
It's impressive.
That's impressive.
And then the one other competitor that's worth talking about is Serve Robotics, which is basically what Uber is using. So they've raised like $247 million over the last year, most recently $80 million in this January. And they actually already have 100 robots in LA today, and they plan to have 2,000 by the end of the year in multiple cities. So I'd say they're on a similar trajectory to Dots. Like, DoorDash had this big announcement, but it seems like they're roughly on pace with each other.
Yeah, and Uber seems to be taking the approach of, like, more partnership as opposed to DoorDash that's, like, trying to build it from scratch.
Yeah, because Serve Robotics has partnerships with other companies too, like 7-Eleven.
Yeah, I mean, I think also Uber had its whole ATG program that completely collapsed. I'm sure like that was their take on how they were going to solve this for their delivery, like their Uber Eats program or their food delivery program was that they would just like repurpose it, and then once that went away, they probably had to figure out another strategy.
I definitely think it's better to have in-house, because if what DoorDash is saying is true and it's going to be up to 50%, if not more, deliveries long term, that seems like a really annoying thing to have to outsource.
Yeah. For sure.
Do you guys think Uber will end up...
It's just an acquisition target, in my opinion.
Yeah. Do you guys think these will get vandalized?
Maybe, but like I don't think it matters.
Why?
I don't know. I just saw people talking about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, like a lot of like Waymos get vandalized.
Oh,
I feel like a lot. Like I feel like it like makes the news when it happens, but it doesn't actually happen that much.
Yeah.
Like I think it's like one of those
yeah.
things where if you didn't live in San Francisco, you would think it happened all the time.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But I don't think it actually does.
I've never seen a vandalized Waymo.
Me neither. I've only seen pictures
I've
of it.
never seen one. I just like hear people talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a non-issue.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Cool. Should we move on to the government shutdown?
Yeah.
Okay, so to start off, the government shut down on October 1st, and this is because the Democrats and Republicans are fighting about fighting about healthcare policy. So the Democrats want to extend the Affordable Care Act premium tax credits beyond December 31st, 2025. And the second thing they're standing for is they want to reverse the Medicaid cuts happening in the Big Beautiful Bill. So as a result, they decided to not pass the annual funding bill that happens on October 1st. And this funding bill classically needs like 60 votes in the Senate, and they only got 53. Republicans take 53 of the seats and Democrats take 47. So yeah, they're standing up to the Republicans, and we can get into this story, but yeah.
Yeah, basically midterms are coming up next year, and the Democrats want to be able to point to a win, and healthcare is what makes the most sense because it polls really popularly. Like 78% of Americans support the extension of the ACA tax cuts that Maya was talking about, and that's not even considering the Medicare cuts. And there's basically like, I think this puts around like 17 million Americans at risk of losing their health insurance. And that's a very tangible like thing that affects your day-to-day life. A lot of the places where the ACA benefits people the most are also red states like Kentucky, Florida, Texas, partially because they have aging populations, partially because they also have a lot of like more rural or like lower socioeconomic areas. And so the last midterm election, I believe like up to half of the Democrats' ad spend was on
on healthcare. Yeah. I think there's two strategies here from the Democratic Party. One is like to be able to flip those red states, or a couple of those red states, so that they can show, hey, we're actually fighting for your healthcare and we're preserving it. And I think the second strategy is to also flip the votes within the Senate itself. So they're hoping that like some of the Republican senators will succumb so that they don't lose popularity in their own states.
Yeah, and that was like their whole original strategy when these things passed. They were set to expire now, and the Democrats knew that, but they agreed to it because they were like, oh, it'll be like entrenched policy by then, and there'll be like Republicans where their constituents depend on it enough that they won't vote to cancel it.
Yeah, so a little bit more history is that in 2021, Congress temporarily increased the premium tax credits to make coverage more affordable during and after the COVID crisis. Then they met again in 2022, and they decided to place these subsidies to end in 2025 because not all the conservative Democrats were willing to make it permanent because they were fearful of the spending. And they specifically placed it for when the Trump tax cuts would also end. So the Trump tax cuts started in 2017, and many of those provisions were set to expire in 2025. But then when the big, beautiful bill got passed in July, it made those tax cuts permanent. So now the Democrats basically lost all their leverage for the end of 2025 to keep the ACA subsidiaries in place. And so, yeah, the only way they stand up to it is by shutting the government down.
Basically, like the big, beautiful bill reduces spending by around $1 trillion a year, but then it has like $4.5 trillion of tax cuts. So you're still losing like 3.5 trillion or $3.4 trillion at the end of the day. And
how much is that? Was that per year?
I don't know.
No, it's over 10 years.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's like $3 trillion.
Yeah. Well, because in comparison to that, like the ACA would add $335 billion to the deficit over 10 years if it was to like pass and they were to agree to it. So I feel like in comparison, it's like way less.
Yeah. And I think, so this is something that they've been thinking about for a while. So back in March, a bunch of senators also decided that they wanted to create a shutdown then. But Schumer, which is on the more conservative side, decided to speak out and say that it's not worth shutting down the government because he believed that the Trump administration would have more power if they shut down the government. So if you think back to like the March timeframe, this is when Doge was really big. They were cutting a lot of agencies. There was a bunch of tariffs. And so he was worried that if there was a shutdown, it would empower them to like reclassify programs or personnel as like non-essential during that time. And so he didn't want to give that power up. But now, since the narrative has not changed in their favor, they believe that there's like nothing left to lose.
Yeah, and that, like what Chuck Schumer said would happen is happening.
Yeah.
In his defense, like Trump and this guy Vaught, who's from the Office of Management and Budget, have been talking about how this shutdown is an unprecedented opportunity for them to basically decrease the federal workforce, which Trump has been trying to do this whole time, cut like clean energy projects, and like just use the in general chaos and the fact that so many federal workers in the short term are working without money to just like basically never bring them back.
Yeah. And like the way that works is that when there's a government shutdown, basically all the non-essential like government workers are temporarily put on unpaid leave. So that's like in the national parks, for example, or at the Smithsonian. I saw that like going around the news. But then like people like air traffic controllers and those types of jobs that are essential functions stay and like are still working. But so like these federal workers are being furloughed and they do end up getting paid retroactively. Yeah. And so the difference here is that Trump is basically saying that he'll use this to just lay them off completely. So not only will they not get back paid, but they'll also just get like completely fired from their jobs, which has never happened before in the cases of like previous government shutdowns.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that previous government shutdowns have generally been a Republican tool, and I feel like it's been looked down upon because whatever party initiates the shutdown, which has usually been Republicans, like for example, the last one was over the border wall. Yeah. It's like you basically, instead of coming to an agreement, are just like crashing out and being like, yeah, I'm like not gonna do anything.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating with this one is like one, that the Democrats are doing it that like they're increasingly, and I think this is like a pattern, right, where like Democrats are increasingly willing to use Republican tactics because they realize that, one, like they're losing, and two, it's like voters clearly are not giving them any brownie points for like taking the high road in some of these situations. Yeah. And although it's not like related, I feel like Gavin Newsom has been like doing this a lot recently, where like he mocks like Trump's style of talking and stuff, and his approach is very clearly like, if you go low, I'll go low too. Like I can do it too. Like try me. Like that's his like whole thing.
Even the Democrats' TikTok, honestly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like crazy sometimes when I see things posted and then I see it's posted from like the official account.
Yeah.
And it's like they are not holding back.
Yeah, they're not holding back, but I feel like even like Kamala's TikTok strategy didn't hold back that much, but it didn't like translate. Like I feel like sometimes the Democrats' TikToks, it's like it's not like translating to what any of you guys are like saying or how you act. But like with Gavin Newsom, I feel like it does. Anyways, all of this was to say, what was I gonna say? Oh, that actually, like, most people are blaming this shutdown on Republicans.
Yeah.
Which is ironic.
Because of past precedent. So they're not really, like,
looking into it.
Yeah.
or okay, you can get your download here.
Well, and I'm not trying to say that the Dems are to blame specifically. Like, they didn't, like...
It's like
they're fighting
for
their
like,
right.
Yeah, it's like they are to blame for the shutdown. It seems like that's my read of the situation. Yeah. But it's like, like I
it's
get
for good
it.
reason.
Yeah, it's a good reason.
I mean, they've been threatening it for 6 months. Is more my point. Is that like the Republicans knew that it was coming.
Yeah.
And the Republicans really want to shame the Democrats. So like in terms of like how long we think that the shutdown will last, which we just like talked about this yesterday, but I'm pretty sure they'll be in a deadlock for more than 15 days because that's one pay cycle. And so they want obviously the pain to, I guess, cut deep, and they want to blame the Democrats for it. So they want like a whole pay cycle for like employees to not get paid, for that employees and like government employees specifically to start speaking out and be more vocal about it. And then they can go and turn that blame on the Democrats.
Do you have money in the call sheet market?
No, but I was thinking about it.
Yeah, I was talking to my friend on Saturday, and he like just put money on that call sheet market.
For what? For what's the lowest one? 15 days?
No, it's 1 to like 30.
It's 1 to 30 days, but I think like 1 to or however many days it's been right now. Like those are obviously closed markets. So then,
I honestly think the 15. Okay, this is not investment advice at all, but in my personal like view, 15 days. I think sits at like 60%.
Yeah.
When I was like last looking at it. And it's actually like, I think it should be closer to 75 in my opinion, because you don't like all of the previous shutdowns in recent years have been more than 15 days. And you make sure that it's more than 15 days in order for it to hit enough news media coverage and blame one of the parties.
I also feel like if the Democrats are like going to go through all this trouble, then you might as well like stick it out for at least a pay cycle. Right?
Yeah.
What's the point then?
like the poor kids. Did you see that AOC is giving like tours of the White House?
AOC?
Yeah, because like there's no workers.
There's no workers, yeah.
Apparently last time also.
Oh.
Yeah. Apparently last time like all the national parks got vandalized and it was like really bad because there's like no people like monitoring.
I don't understand how they could just like shut down their operations.
Well,
I mean they're just like, we're not getting paid.
Yeah.
So.
But it's like crazy that anyone can just do that. Like this whole thing aside, I feel like it should be like, oh, like the like national park workers still like go to work. Like, I don't know. Is that a crazy take?
No, I think that's the point, is that like government shutdowns shouldn't be normalized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And like it should take
I feel like
a
it
lot.
shouldn't be like an option.
But it's like, I feel like this exists outside of the government too, right? Like in college when like TAs would, what was it, like the union, and they'd be like, we're not getting paid enough.
But that's a strike. Like if the government workers were like, we're not getting paid enough, so we're going to strike. Like, yeah, I get it. Like worker strike makes sense. But like, why can one party just be like, I'm not getting my way?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So like everything's going to stop.
It's the world we live in.
Clearly. But like long term, there also is economic impact. Like every week of a shutdown decreases annual GDP growth by 0.1 to 0.2%.
Yeah. And then the other thing I was going to say, markets are not affected by shutdowns. And I thought this was pretty interesting, but markets just care more about the Fed than the Congress, and shutdowns normally don't don't hurt corporate earnings. And because all the pay is back paid, it's not really like a loss of money. It's more of just like a whole publicity thing of like, here's a peaceful protest from one side to the other. So you should be fine if you have money in the market. Don't freak out.
So everyone.
Which is not everyone. You'll be surprised.
Not everyone.
But
The
yeah,
market's doing too good.
the market is doing
scary.
too. It is scary, but just hold on tight. But yeah, I was going to say that the Democrats are just in a dilemma at this point. Like, it depends on how long it'll last, but they clearly will watch the polls to make sure that most of the polls are blaming the Republicans for the shutdown. Because if they don't get their way and they are starting to get blamed, then they'll really lose the midterms.
That's so down bad. Yeah.
They are down bad as
It's
a
like
party.
being a fan of a shitty sports team.
Yeah. It really is. You're like, oh.
Anyways, we'll be helping the cause as we have an interview with Shoycott scheduled.
Yes,
Yes.
we will be. Stay tuned for that interview.
Yeah, stay tuned.
We'll follow the story pretty closely, and we'll do updates on our TikToks if you guys are interested, because this is definitely going to be a story in the news for the next 2 weeks at least, maybe more.
According to you.
And if any of you guys know how many days it'll last, just let us know.
Oh, yeah. And if you want to bet on Kalshi.
Yeah, the link's in our bio.
So the last story we want to talk about is Tinker, which is Thinking Machine Labs' new product, or first product that they just launched. Thinking Machine Labs was founded by Mira Murati, who is the former CTO of OpenAI, and they raised a $2 billion seed at a $12 billion valuation, which was insane. Like, I don't think anyone
everyone
has
was
ever...
like, what are they building? So
And
here's
this
your
is what it
answer.
is.
Yeah, they came out with a fine-tuning API, and I would say everyone's initial reaction is like, you took that long to build something that already exists, because if you don't know, fine-tuning APIs have existed. It's where you can take a base, like a flavorless base model like GPT-4 or Opus Sonnet or whatever, and then fine-tune it for your specific ability. And so it's less about like stylizing an LLM, but more about getting a smaller LLM specifically for your narrow task that is cheaper. So yeah, this API is a distributed training API, so you can have complete control over the algorithm, but you do not have to worry about distributed GPU stack and managing that stack.
Yeah, but right now you can only use it on open models, right? Like you can only use it on like Llama or Quen, which I guess is a differentiating factor from like OpenAI, where you can actually use like the GPT models.
Yeah.
But it is like really easy to switch between the models, right?
Yeah, it is really easy. They like label it as like a one-liner switch. So
And eventually, like, do you think they'll eventually have partnerships with closed models, or it'll always?
it depends on if they come out with their own model. Like, it's too early to say on like what kind of player they want to be, because I think when they first incorporated, people were like, oh, they're going to be the next AI lab, or they're going to be in the races with like maybe Anthropic or OpenAI, but then maybe they decided they don't want to do that. So it's unclear.
I did look into like her mission and why she said she was doing it, because I thought that could also like lead to the answer of like why they chose to do that. And like her entire thing was about AI accessibility and like building systems that were like customizable and generally capable to like anyone. So I guess like it is like pretty in line with that.
So the market reaction was like pretty interesting, because people were like, oh, they just came out with a fine-tuning service, and there's fine-tuning services that have existed before. But I think specifically what people are talking about with this release is that you gain more control over the fine-tuning service, and you're able to build better models as a result, and you don't have to manage like your GPU stack. So before, if you used a fine-tuning service, all you got to choose was like the model, and then maybe you could choose the data that you give the model. So you're like, okay, here's the model, here's the data, like the prompts and the responses, and basically optimize for these responses.
And the reason you're like using a fine-tuned model in the first place, like the reason you even want to do that is to build it for a specific use case. So you can think about if you have a company and you have like super specific needs for customer service, for example, that's like why you would even want to do this in the first place.
Yeah, and it's because they're better at answering those questions, and they're cheaper at serving those models too. And there's been a ton of papers, like NVIDIA came out with a paper on SLMs and how SLMs achieve like basically 99% of the, or like 90 to 99% of the capabilities that LLMs achieve, but at like a fraction of the cost, and that's like the only way the product layer is going to scale for AI and for other startups. Like when AI startups come out with these products, like they have to start building their own SLMs in order for like their serving costs to stay low. So, or I guess like there's a lot of researchers that have bet that fine tuning is the future of AI and the only way for us to close the margin gap, because as we know right now, like services are too expensive.
Yeah.
So that's probably why Thinking Machine went after this, is giving more access to people to fine tune models better. But yeah, if you don't use a fine tuning service, then there's a whole ton of shit that you have to do.
Yeah, then it's like really complicated because you first have to start with like the infrastructure layer and actually set up, like get and set up all the GPUs, CUDA, like S3 buckets for your data, like all of those things need to be done by you. And then I would say like the data step, which is the next portion, kind of stays the same across all of them because you need to have a clean data set. So you need to like remove PII, you need to clean it, transform it, do whatever you need to do to the data and format it in a way for it to understand. So I would say that layer is probably pretty comparable across all of the different services because your model's only as good as the data that you're giving it. And then there's the actual training loop. So like the forward and backward passes that Maya was talking about, which are basically like the two fundamental ways that you train a model. So the forward loop calculates the model's output and error, and then the backwards loop updates the model weights to reduce that error. So that's like how you do the forwards and backwards loops. And then you just basically keep going back and forth until you get to the point where you're happy with the model. And then in some cases, people could do RLHF, but it's like a heavier lift. And so that would be like the optional step to like build that reward system and make the model even like more optimized to your specific use case. And then you have to evaluate it. So like similar to anything else in like data science, you have to have like a golden data set and then evaluate against that golden data set and ultimately deploy it. So that's like the entire life cycle of like if you had nothing else in the picture, what you would have to do.
Yeah. And so fine tuning services never let you use RLHF. And this is because it's too expensive. So if you had a GPU for a customer that was reserved for a customer, you would want to pre-download the entire data set of the prompt and the responses and then do the whole run. When you have RLHF in the process, the GPU stays idle for the time that the human is literally like scoring the output, because you have to like ask the model for an output, the human scores the output, then the GPU runs again. And so you have like a bunch of these idle times. And so all the fine tuning services were like, there's no way we can ever offer this because like our GPUs just sit idle for this amount of time. And the theory is that Thinking Machine Labs has figured out how to not keep those GPUs idle for the time that you're not using it. And they're able to swap in other batches that other customers are doing to train their models. And that's because they're using LoRa adapters. And LoRa adapters are like the thing that is like getting fine-tuned on top of the LLM for your use case. And so the idea is that they're able to switch, you know, customer one's LoRa adapter out for customer two. So when customer one is idle and is like doing the human feedback loop, customer two comes in and they're training their model. And so by doing that, you never have an idle GPU. And so this is great because now people who wanted to use RLHF to create a really, really good fine-tuned SLM can now do so without having to manage the infra.
Yeah.
And that's why it's a lot of like researchers, universities, startups. What's the reason why like enterprises don't use it? Is it just because they would rather use the closed models and pay more? And like all the articles about who's going to use this, it always says it's like not really an enterprise solution.
Probably because, I
They
mean,
probably just can't use open source models. If I
Yeah,
were to
that's
guess.
yeah.
Like I just think they can't use open source models.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
oh, so then it is what you said, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I see a world in which enterprises wanting to use it for open source models too.
Yeah, like if they're allowed to use them, but like it's basically like Llama or Quen, right? Like those are the two. And you're maybe Llama. You're definitely not using Quen.
Oh, because Quen is adversary, yeah.
Because Quen is adversary. It's actually hilarious. Yeah, I mean, like, it's probably
And
not
Llama's
because
not
it's
good,
yeah.
no, okay.
So I think like they could use it in the future. It's just like right now you're probably
I forgot
only
Quen
gonna
was
use it.
adversary, yeah. No, I just like forgot. No, because the Quen models are really good.
I'm so dead.
They're really good for like, yeah. It's still unclear on. I don't know.
Quen is adversary is insane.
Wait, sorry.
I can't wait to make a TikTok about that.
Where am
I feel like in general though, like it's cool. Like you get a lot of control over the algorithmic layer, which is something that people want because you want to be able to like customize it as much as possible. I don't know. I feel like to your point earlier, Maya, like the $2 billion they raised, the fact that this is like what they came out with was maybe like not what people wanted to see.
It's also like their first product launch.
Yeah. I actually don't think it's that bad of a launch.
Yeah.
I think that like if you're making the bet that SLMs are the future and fine-tuned models are the only way that we close the profitability gap, then these products are going to be of the utmost importance. Or like these types of products are the only products that won't lead to the AI bubble crashing.
Yeah.
So in a way, I actually see it as like one of the few things that could prevent a bubble crash. What's that?
I don't know if it's like one of the few things, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
There's like very few products aimed at
Accessibility.
Yeah.
How much profitability does this bring though if all the users are like universities?
Well, I think the future is that they'd be able to do it on closed models and they'd be able to offer it for enterprises and startups. Yeah.
They like have to do that otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah. Thanks for listening today, guys.
Bye.
Bye.